When we think about creativity, we often imagine artists, musicians, or singers. But this is an extremely limited and popularized view of what the term truly means. The literal meaning of creativity is to create. A creative individual connects to seemingly unrelated ideas in a new way. This connection is novel, and whether it is useful or useless for now is irrelevant and also depends on the perception of individual or on time. So creativity is not limited to painting or poetry. In fact, it's about making connections where none are obvious and finding meaning in things that may not, at least by conventional standards, have any. Bell curve and creative outliers. By nature, the exploration of something different pushes a person to step outside of fixed patterns. If we imagine a Gaussian curve or normal distribution, then creative individuals in certain aspects are the outliers. These outliers try new methods and integrate unrelated concepts in ways most people do not. Many of these new connections or methods might appear unappealing or even outright foolish at first, often because they lack immediate utility or make processes seem inefficient. A lot of innovations have in fact been labeled as foolish in the beginning, but over time, many of these ideas gained acceptance. If creativity is about linking two seemingly unrelated points, it is more common among individuals who integrate different philosophies or approaches. And this leads us to an interesting intersection with a seemingly unrelated condition, depression. Depression as a disruption. One important characteristic of depression is that it must be transitional. Suppose someone is emotionally flat, predominantly sad, or pessimistic by nature. That is not the same as being depressed. We can't call that person depressive. It's their inherent nature, shaped by upbringing and environment, is consistent, perhaps even permanent. On the other hand, everyday sadness is fleeting. These brief emotional dips are part of normal human experience, so for depression to be valid, it must represent a change, a deviation from what is regular for that individual. And this change is not only chemical but structural and anatomical. The point is that depression isn't about sadness itself. It's about inactivity, a breakdown in the usual patterns of structure and function. It's like a traffic jam. Clinical depression and brain structure. This is a condition where an individual experiences a persistently low mood, along with disturbances in essential biological function like sleep, appetite, energy, motivation, and even concentration. The crucial thing to understand is that depression affects not only how the brain functions, but also how it is structurally wired. It is not merely an emotional phase, it physically embeds itself into the brain's architecture. Over time, the brain learns sadness. It begins to default to those circuits, and that is why depression, when chronic, becomes not just hard to treat, but hard to unlearn. Creative individuals, by their nature, attempt things that are different. Among these many attempts, only a few are accepted or recognized as creative. Most are rejected, and repeated rejection increases the risk of feeling isolated. Over time, this impacts the brain because our neural structures reflect what happens in our environment. The world does not just shape our thoughts, it shapes how our brain is wired to think. And rejection, especially when persistent, can lead to long-term psychological effects. Now here's a subtle but powerful idea. What if nothing is changing? What if everything remains exactly the same? For a person who has experienced everything within a fixed environment, even familiar things can lose meaning over time. Initially, they may have felt new, but the lack of real change can lead to monotony, and monotony can disrupt neural activity just as much as chaos can. This too can lead to depression. One may become depressed from being misunderstood while trying new things. Another may become depressed from staying still and doing the same thing. This is exactly why the relationship between depression and creativity has sparked so many debates and inspired so much research. You can't explain it with a simple cause and effect equation, but that's what makes it worth exploring, because in trying to understand it, we start asking better questions, not just about creativity or depression, but about how we function at a deeper level.